May I speak in the name of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Well, good morning, St. Margaret's. Very blessed ninth Sunday after Pentecost to you. It is so good to be back in the pulpit after a couple of weeks away. And I'm especially excited to come back and to get to explore this week's lectionary readings with you. From that opening collect to our epistle to our gospel text from Matthew, there is this rather wondrous thread winding its way throughout much of our liturgy this morning. This thread is beautiful, it's mysterious, it's perhaps even challenging to hear and to absorb. But I'm convinced that it's true and that it's good. But before I say what this thread might be, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between going on an adventure versus being drawn into a quest. As some of you may recall, I happen to be a rather big fan of author and academic J.R.R. Tolkien, especially his famous works The Hobbit, together with his longer trilogy, The Lord of the Rings. Well, just this week, I ran across a rather fascinating discussion of these 4 books, looking specifically at how they exemplify the differences between an adventure and a quest. First, The Hobbit is apparently a classic example of an adventure, so much so that the second part of the title to The Hobbit is There and Back Again, if you remember that. Well, There and Back Again happens to be an excellent description of what makes an adventure an adventure. Adventures are stories of there and back again, where the hero says yes to overcoming long odds and terrible enemies, only to return home, much the same as they were before the story began. On the other hand, in contrast to this, quests are not stories of there and back again. They aren't journeys leading back to the same place the hero was before the story began. Nor are they something that the hero ever chooses freely. No, in a lot of ways, according to this analysis, a quest is the opposite of an adventure. This explains actually why The Lord of the Rings has such a different feel from The Hobbit. I mean, the narratives on the surface are really rather similar. But if you're familiar with The Lord of the Rings, I think you may have figured out by now why it's such a good example of a quest, right? You know, Tolkien talks again and again how Frodo, the protagonist, never actually chooses his journey. No, he was chosen for the task laid before him. Likewise, Tolkien writes again and again how Frodo never really gets to go back to the Shire. Sadly, the wound that Frodo receives along the way, it changes him forever, such that his only hope for lasting peace is to travel to a land beyond the place that he had always called home. Unlike an adventure, a quest is always transformative. It always leaves us in a much different place than what we've known and loved and lived before. Unlike an adventure, a quest, at its best, opens our eyes to the world as it really is. Takes us through the looking glass. I'll confess that I struggled this week over how best to explore our lectionary passages. You know, all this week, I sensed this thread. I knew something was connecting our collect and the readings. But then I struggled to say what precisely this thread was. After all, what do these strange images from Jesus about the kingdom of heaven have to do with Paul's words of encouragement to those Christians living in Rome 2,000 years ago. Things, though, came into focus when I considered how our readings are pointing us to that familiar image, that fundamental image of faith as a journey. And as I did so, and as I thought about that exploration of Tolkien, I realized that the journey of faith is not an adventure so much as it is a quest. That's the thread I'm convinced we're meant to encounter this morning. What we've heard this morning is God's invitation into a quest, a journey that will take us to a place that is holy and beautiful, a journey that's meant to change us at a fundamental level in the deepest places of our innermost beings. And after all, that's what this text from Matthew is all about. Journey and transformation. Turning to our gospel passage, Jesus' teachings offer these strange glimpses of God's mysterious and unpredictable kingdom. And true to any journey, Jesus makes clear to us that we have to move if we want to encounter the kingdom he promises. I mean, these are dynamic images that Jesus is sharing with us this morning. They tell us that God's kingdom is something we discover. It's something that we look for. And more than simply search, if we actually want to step into this kingdom, we have to be open to being changed. That, more than anything else, is what Jesus is talking about. The man who finds the treasure in the field, what does he do? He sells all that he has. In an instant, the life that he had always known before disappears. The stuff that he once possessed is forever gone. Likewise, the merchant who finds the pearl of great value, he sells everything he owns. Mustard seeds, having grown into shrubs, they don't go back to being seeds. Dough filled with yeast doesn't become unleavened bread. God's kingdom asks that we offer up every last thing. All that we are, all that we own, all that we love, all that we treasure in this world. We do this not that we might earn God's grace, but rather that we would simply have open arms. Open arms, able to fully embrace the goodness and grace of Jesus Christ. We offer ourselves up only to receive ourselves back, but in a completely different form. It all makes for a rather grand quest. Turning to Romans, what we heard a few moments ago, they're some of the best known words ever written by the Apostle Paul. In the spirit of a quest, they too are pointing us to journey as well as transformation, to hardship as well as hope. I'll start with the hardship. I'll start with what's challenging. Paul in Romans 8 refuses to downplay or dismiss the reality of suffering. When he lists those different types of setbacks, hardship, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, the sword. Paul, he's not speaking hypothetically or abstractly. No, he was intimately acquainted with each of these things firsthand. He knew better than most that a life of genuine, transformative faith will often find itself accompanied by suffering and sacrifice. The gospel asks that we discern our relationships, our finances, our pocketbooks, our time, our values, our most basic commitments. The gospel asks that we be willing to go against the flow, to question the world all around us, to seek a deeper, more profound reality. One that is free, it costs us nothing, but it disrupts everything. Apostle Paul knew that to truly seek after Christ is to be changed, often in painful ways, such that we can never, ever go back home. Paul knew that the life of faith was anything but a story of there and back again. That's the challenge, that's the hardship. But then, acknowledging our broken world, Paul also shares his words of comfort and reassurance, shares words that offer us a hope that surpasses human understanding. Again, like a quest, Paul makes clear that in the midst of our choosing God, God is also choosing us, moving in us and through us. It's the Spirit who intercedes on our behalf. It's God who calls us to his side, which means that nothing can ever come between us and the love of God made available in Jesus Christ. As Paul puts it, neither death nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation can come between us and God. What a priceless gift it is that creation, by definition, includes us, me and you. My brothers and sisters, God's love is bigger than our mistakes and misdeeds. God's love is bigger than our doubts and our anxieties. God's love is bigger than the powers and principalities of our world, the ones that whisper in our ears that we are not enough, that God's grace will someday fail. Put it all together, this means that we are more than conquerors. I have to admit, Paul's words, more than conquerors, it's such an upside-down way to look at our world. Once again, we are stepping through the looking glass. I mean, after all, we live in a very competitive world. If nothing else, our world is competitive, which means that we inevitably, as a world, we think of conquering in terms of opposition, right? Rivalry, domination. Tragically, we think of conquering in terms of violence even. It takes the grace of God's Spirit for us to see true victory, not in whom we defeat, but in what we overcome. It takes the grace of God's Spirit for us to see that despite the challenges and hardships of life, the fact that our journey's end is secure means that we have already won. But brothers and sisters, one of the profound gifts of the gospel is that our circumstances no longer have to dictate our convictions. We are more than conquerors. God's love will lead us home. Speaking of God's love leading us home, I want to close now with this thought. If there's any drawback, any downside to conceiving of the Christian life as a journey and as a quest, is that we can sometimes convince ourselves that reaching home, reaching our destination, is a matter of our own wills, our own efforts, our own behavior, a matter of us somehow stacking up. I don't want us to think these things. And so I want to leave you with these words from St. Augustine. St. Augustine knew better than most that the life of faith was the quest to end all quests. He was a man who knew what it was to move, to be changed, to encounter the full reality of God's good news in Jesus. And this is what he writes as he describes his own spiritual journey. These are the words he has for us. Oh, the twisted roads I walked. Woe to my outrageous soul that hoped for something better if it withdrew from you. But look, you're here, freeing us from our unhappy wandering, setting us firmly on your track, comforting us and saying, run the race. I'll carry you. I'll carry you clear to the end, and even at the end, I'll carry you. Amen.